Welcome. In this video, we're going to talk about transition animations. Now, these are two-step animations, like you can see over here. When I hover over the text, there's a little animation that comes up. So this is a two-step animation. It's very, very simple. If you want something more steps, more complicated, more sophisticated, there's the keyframe animations. But in this video, we're going to talk about the transition animations. So if you want to know about the keyframe animations, refer to our other video. All right, so how do we do this? How do we do this transition animation, and why would we do this instead of the keyframe animations, which are much more powerful? The reason is because it's just easier. So it's very simple. We're gonna see this in this video. It's much easier to set this up than to set up a full keyframe animation where you have to define the various steps, etc. So transition animations make it a lot easier. So in order to get started, let's just delete this text block. I'm gonna delete this text block. And also we have a little CSS over here. I'm going to remove that CSS as well. And yeah, so now we're starting from scratch with something very, very basic. So the first thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna add a little text block over here next to it. And I'm going to type married at first sight. Now, the case doesn't matter as much. We're going to convert it to uppercase. So let's just do that over here. Case uppercase. And the other thing that we need to do, we need to separate these into spans so that this section can appear bigger font, and this section is going to be smaller font, and this is going to be, again, big font. So let's wrap these with spans. So I'm going to take this wrap with span, and I'm going to take this wrap with span. So now if we actually look at our element tree, under the text block, we have 3 spans, and under each one, we have these words that appear over here. All right, so what we need to do, these need to be on their own lines. So we can, span is by default display inline, but we can override it to be block over here. That's what we're going to be doing. So all of them are block now, so there are separate ones. So as I said, we need to change the font size of these. So let's just set it about maybe 120 or so. And the middle one is going to be about 50 pixels or so. And the bottom one is, again, about 120. All right. So obviously, this is getting closer to what we want, but the font is very much off. So let's just set up a font. And we're going to get a font from Google, which is the Gabarito. So I already added this, but in order to show how it's added, let's add it again. So I go add font. I go to Google Gabarito, and then I say add. And that basically adds it to our component. And so now I can actually see this for this text block. I'm going to use Gabarito. Okay, so it's closer to that, font style that we were looking for. And obviously, this needs to be a little bit stronger, bolder, maybe about 700 or so. All right. So yeah, so we now have the basic premise, but this is supposed to be white, and when we hover over it, it's supposed to transition into the shadow. So how do we do that? We're gonna need to use CSS for this. So we're gonna go to CSS. I'm gonna add some class over here. Let's say text. And in this initial mode, what we're gonna do is we want to make it white, so it's not going to be very much visible. And we're going to be making the initial shadow over here in effects. In typography. We have text shadows, and by default, this is going to be all 0. So this is our starting state, and no blur, nothing. Okay, so we have the initial phase. We're not really seeing it, and we set it to black. We may want to use it something a little bit less obvious, maybe white. So it doesn't even show anything. All right. So what we're going to do is when we hover over this, this is going to change, right? So for it to change, we actually have to add a transition. So we're going to put the transition animation here. So what this says is any property that changes, it's going to be animated. Or you can pick individual properties, but in this case, it's not necessary. Duration, how long it's going to take for the animation to take effect. In this case, 1 second by default. This is milliseconds, or you can convert to seconds, whatever, however you wish. The timing, you can use linear timing, like the way that the animation happens. Ease is, it starts slow and then it speeds up and then it slows down again. Ease in, ease out. Cubic Bezier is like, complete custom logic there. And there's these are the same as the keyframe animations. So if you want more information, you can look at that video. But yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Normally, you would be using ease. And finally, the start delay. How much should we wait for the transition to start happening? In this case, we're going to be immediately transitioning. Now, nothing is happening, obviously, when I hover over this, because even though we defined that there should be a transition, we haven't defined any changes on it. So how are we going to be doing the changes? We're going to be adding another rule, and this time we're going to say .text, the same thing, but this time we're going to say hover. So what this does is when you put this :hover, this is the state that we're going to be changing to when we hover over it. So so what we're going to be adding, we're going to be adding text shadow over here. Sorry, let me close that. And yeah, so let's make this maybe about 20 pixels, 20 pixels over here. Yeah, I mean, it's starting to work. Obviously, it's a little bit too much. Maybe about 10 pixels would do it. Yeah, it is looking a little bit better. We may want to increase the blur. Yeah, it is. Yeah, this is looking much better. All right. Yeah, so this is how you can do the animation. And if you look at the original show, it actually it does this animation and then it does a second phase, so it pushes it like that. As I mentioned before, check out our other keyframe animations video in order to find out how to do that. But for now, this is yeah, you can use this technique in various places. It's very useful, especially for hover. And yeah, thank you very much for watching.